Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Arylle. I'm a career explorer at heart and a data analyst by trade. So when you come to my page, we're going to be talking about career explorations, life transitions, and self-actualization because I believe that everyone deserves to reach their highest potential and reach self-mastery. So one thing that I believe, if we get really granular about transitions, is that if you want to make a huge transition, you want to go from point A to point B, the best thing that's going to help you get there successfully is to envision where you want to go and who you want to be. Now, when I say envisioning who you want to be, you're getting really comfortable, really familiar with what is that person's habits. How do they wake up in the morning? What do they do on a regular basis? How do they feed their soul? And what do they do in their career that I need to start working on in my current career so I can build a brand for myself in the long run? Now, one way for you to actually do that is for you to go out there, start to talk to people who are actually in the career that you actually want to be in, and start to understand what their journey looked like. So I talk about this all the time, and it might seem daunting when you think about it from a big step. But what I'm really telling you is, if you simply go to LinkedIn and you just literally type in the position that you want to be in, or the title that you envision having, or the cross-pollination of two completely different topics. So let's say actor and finance person. There's someone out there who has a similar background that you can tap into and start to understand how did they get to where they are today, and what do you want to do in your career journey. So that's one way to do it. But the second way is what we're going to walk through today. So I'm going to walk you through an exercise for us to start thinking about how you can prepare for your transition. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about my friend Jasmine. So Jasmine works at a large corporation, and she actually really loves her job. The only thing is she makes about $50K, and she wants to do something a little bit different. She's currently a quality assurance analyst, and she wants to do something different because right now she works pretty solo, and she wants to work more with a team. So quality assurance, and she wants to be more in a team. She wants to work teamwork. She wants team collaboration, right? So at a high level, Jasmine is in a really good spot because she's interviewing. She's been interviewing for other roles. She's happy where she's at, so she's not in a desperate position. She makes about $50K, and she currently works an hourly job. She knows what she wants to do. She knows what other skills that she wants to take on. Now, let's say Jasmine is successful in securing a new role. She's been hired at another large corporation, and now she makes $75K, right? Now, I'm not sure about what you think, but we can all do some good stuff with an extra $15K in our bank account, right? But there's already something that we have to consider, which we'll talk about in a minute. But so she makes $75K. She's also now salaried. So she's salaried, she makes $15,000 more, and she works in a project management role. Now, project management, going from quality assurance to project management is not unheard of. So, but there are differences in the role that you have to start to take inventory of so you can understand how do you make this transition. So, thinking about this basic scenario, like I told you, we're getting really granular. Think about one of the first things that you should be thinking about when you're making a transition like this. I'll give you one. Time management. So time management looks different when you are here versus here. And it just looks different. You can excel in time management here and then fail in time management if you don't think about how you have to change your mindset. So remember we said that Jasmine is hourly, and now Jasmine is salaried. So the one shift that we can talk about here is the fact that when you don't own your calendar, so owning your calendar is really important in this transition. So owning your calendar is important because when you're hourly, you probably more than likely you either turn in a timesheet every week or turn in a timesheet on a monthly basis, and you basically have you might have the same job duties every single day that you have to execute on. Well, when you're salaried, sometimes you take on projects that aren't necessarily in your job description. They might be projects that you take on the side so that you can elevate in your career. And then another thing happens when you're salaried. you have to own your calendar, and your calendar actually starts to run your day. I remember when I first took another job and got into my calendar, I already had meetings on my first day. So when you think about that mindset shift, you have to learn how to own your calendar. So when you're starting a new role, owning your calendar looks like this. Placing things on your calendar that are already set. So if you want to get off work at 5 o'clock on Fridays or Wednesdays, start setting that expectations up front so that you can be able to communicate that to your colleagues and your boss. Also, being able to keep track of the meetings that are important. If you don't already have regular meetings with your counterparts and then your boss, then you want to put that on the calendar, and that helps you own your time. Even if they don't put that on your calendar, that's for you to own on your own. And then when we talk about being salaried, you also have to think about how you are going to manage that calendar. So when you're salaried, sometimes people want to give you projects to do on a Friday night at 3 p.m. when you know you have a whole weekend full of things. Being able to block off your calendar so that you say, hey, I've already had this time scheduled, this is what I have to do, so I'll be able to set expectations and tell you when I'll be able to deliver on a project. That gives you so much more freedom, even though you have more responsibility, more money, right? So time management looks a little bit different. Now, also, a shift that happens when you go from 50K to 75K is that income. What are you gonna do with that income? Now, there's life after this transition, so you need to be thinking ahead anyway. But when you think about this transition, what comes to mind for me is finances. So when you're thinking about you're transitioning somewhere, the first thing I'm always going to ask you is how much money do you have in the bank, and then how much will it take you going forward? Where's the revenue coming in, and how are you going to generate more? Finances are a huge component of making any life transition, because life happens, bills continue to come through. No matter what you have going on in your life, no matter what shifts happen in your life, those bills are going to be constant. And you want to be able to deliver on those expectations. Not only that, you want to be planning for the future in a financial perspective. So thinking about this 15K, that's not even it. Going from hourly to salary means that you have that 401K that you need to start thinking about. You also need to start thinking about how you're going to set up your savings account, and then if you want to save for something else, like an idea that you want to pull through. Thinking about vacation time is a little bit different, because your vacation time starts to accrue. And if you've never had a job that accrued vacation, then you need to know what that looks like. So if you're following me this far, then you already know that you probably have gone from here to here, and then you already know that you've already made these transitions in time management and finance. Now, the other thing that I'm going to talk about here is your leadership perspective. And we'll get into this a little bit more later. But I just want to touch on the fact that your responsibility changes. When you're going from a large corporation with less responsibility to a larger company with more responsibility, your level of leadership, and if you want to take ownership of your career, your level of leadership has to look different. So taking stock of what your leadership looked like here. Remember, we said that Jasmine had projects that she knew she was going to have to do, so she came in to work every day and she got her work done. Well, as a salaried employee, you might want to take on more of a leadership role and change your brand a little bit. When you start to think about this transition, you start to take responsibility for how you're seen in the workplace. So when you think about just what leadership is at a high level, you might want to think about, am I assertive? Am I more collective? Am I communicative? Am I collaborative? Do I like to work with people? Start to think about who you can actually start to connect with, because people are important at every level. But of course, when you make a transition, the people that you take with you and then the people that you bring along in the next part of your journey are also important. And so when you think about the way people see you, their perception, you start to take ownership of your leadership style, your leadership perspective, your brand as a person. So I'm just going to put brand here, because that is also something for you to consider if you haven't already. So if you follow me this far, we're going to continue to get deeper into this scenario, but we're setting the foundation so that you can understand at a granular level, whether you've been here before or you want to go here, that you have to start to set your mindset before you start to put yourself in this position. Because what you want to do is hit the ground running and not feel like you're drinking through a water hose when you're learning the job and you're changing your mindset in just these 3 areas. And promise you, there are so many more areas that you'll have to shift in your mindset before you get started. But if this resonates with you, drop a comment below. Let me know how this resonates with you, and if this actually speaks to something that you've actually experienced. There's so many things along the way that you're going to want to continue to develop, but we're just scratching the surface now.